Hare Krishna. How are we all doing? Everyone's good? Thank you all for coming to the Hare Krishna temple on a Sunday evening. The best place to be on a Sunday, or any day of the week, but especially on a Sunday before life goes mad again on a Monday morning. At least the kids are not at school, so there's no school run in the morning. So if I could just ask everyone to just sort of move along so I could see everyone, that would be really nice. Thank you very much. Such a sweet devotee. Okay, thank you. If you could just move along. Okay, great. That's fine. Okay. Thank you very much. And maybe if we could just face this way so I can see you all and not the side of your head, that would be really, really nice. Jay, thank you very much. That way I can see you all and interact with everybody. You know, I'm a tutor by profession, so I can tell when my students are falling asleep. I can tell when my students are looking this way and that way. I teach accounting. And anyway, the reason why that can happen is because for some, accounting can be quite boring. But Bhagavad Gita is not boring. So hopefully, the Bhagavad Gita will keep you awake. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to discuss one verse from the Bhagavad Gita and try and draw some lessons from what Krishna is teaching. Who? Krishna is teaching Arjuna on the battlefield. Does anyone know where this battlefield was? Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra. Where's Kurukshetra? Which country? India. Good guess. Yeah. Yeah, Kurukshetra is in India. And Kurukshetra, in the first verse of the first chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, is described as Dharmakshetra. Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. So what does Dharma mean? Peace, religion, pilgrimage, peace. We have so many different meanings for Dharma. The main thing about Dharma, Dhritarashtra was asking Sanjaya. So in the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra is saying to Sanjaya, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, Mamaka Pandavascheva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. He's asking Sanjaya. So Sanjaya is the king. Dhritarashtra is the king and Sanjaya is the minister. And Dhritarashtra can't see because he is blind. He can't see because he's blind. So what he does is he asks Sanjaya, who is the minister, who can see. So Sanjaya can see everything that's going on in the battlefield. He's got like transcendental vision. He's been given this transcendental vision by Vyasadeva, so he can see what's going on miles and miles away. So Dhritarashtra is the first thing he's saying to Sanjaya is Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. In this place of pilgrimage, which is Kurukshetra, what are my sons and the sons of Pandu doing? What's happening on this battlefield? Because Dhritarashtra is a good example of what not to be. And we need this in our Shastra. We need this in our scriptures. We need examples of what to be and what not to be. And if we think about where we are, we're somewhere in between, right? We're somewhere in between. We have what we should be, Lord Ram. You know, Lord Ram came and he was just perfect at everything. He did everything right. Perfect son, perfect king, a perfect husband. He was just perfect. Lord Ram was perfect. He came here and showed how to be perfect and how to live life in a very dharmic way. How to live life as a good example to others. How to ensure that others come first. Others come before ourselves. So Lord Ram was the pinnacle of this. Dhritarashtra, on the other hand, was an example of what not to be. Always putting himself first, his own interests first, not really caring even about his nephews, the sons of his brother, his brother had even left his body, his brother had passed away. So one would hope that our family members will take care of our children if we were to unexpectedly leave our body early, untimely. But unfortunately, Dhritarashtra was not the right kind of person to be left in charge of the family, because he was only interested in his own interest. Dhritarashtra had a very negative outlook. Think about the way he would present himself. I'm born in the royal family, but I'm blind. So he acknowledges he's born in this royal family, but he focuses on the fact that he is blind and that he cannot enjoy the kingdom the way he would have if he was not blind. But imagine he lived his life thinking, I'm blind, but I'm born in the royal family. Just like a switch of outlook can change everything. We are often slaves of our mind. We are often beaten up not by others, not by the situation. Actually, it's how we take it. It's how we take what comes to us that really can affect how we go about our day-to-day life. So Dhritarashtra, a perfect example of what not to be. You know, we say to be or not to be. Lord Ram to be, Dhritarashtra not to be. We don't want to be like Dhritarashtra because Dhritarashtra was selfish. And we're in this world where we know we are happy when we are selfless, like Lord Ram. We know we are unhappy when we are selfish, like Dhritarashtra. And like we said, we're caught somewhere in between. We're caught somewhere in between of what not to be and what to be. We're caught somewhere in between of being selfish and selfless. We're caught somewhere in between of envying someone and wanting them to fail and appreciating someone and wanting them to do well. We are caught somewhere in between lust and love. And the transformation that takes place in the Bhagavad Gita, or the journey of transformation that Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, is how to go away from our selfish interests and how to be happy in contribution to others. Arjuna, he had a big problem. What was his big problem? What was his big issue at the beginning of the battle? Does anyone want to share? What was Arjuna's big issue? Yes. He didn't want to fight family members. Very good. Anyone else with anything? He didn't know? What is the right thing to do? So he didn't want to, he's got his family and he doesn't know what's the right thing to do. Aren't we often in this situation? We just don't know what's the right thing. Like something's happened. What's the right thing to do? And Arjuna becomes perplexed. He starts getting anxious, and his Gandiva bow drops. And he says, Govinda, oh Krishna, I will not fight. I don't want to fight. I would rather go to the forest and be a yogi and meditate and run away from all of this. How often do we feel like running away from our problems? Yeah, anyone who has a job in this material world probably feels like running away. I have 2 daughters, and dare I say it, sometimes I feel like running away. I love them to bits. But sometimes it's like, Krishna, help me. So sometimes we feel that we just want to run away from our problems because running away seems like a solution. Like we think, if I run away from my job, then I'll go somewhere and then my boss won't be able to tell me anything. If I run away from my wife and kids, they won't be able to tell me anything. But the problem is, we can run to Australia. I'm saying Australia because it's the furthest place from England. But the problem is that what we carry in our mind will still come with us. What's in our mind will still come with us. So Krishna says to Arjuna that, okay, you want to run to the forest. The problem is that in your mind and in your physical nature, because you are a Kshatriya, and a Kshatriya's nature is to look after justice, what will end up happening, you'll be able to meditate, forget about things for a little while, but after some time, who you are will just start to come out. It just starts, wherever your natural inclinations are, they start to come out. So Krishna is saying to Arjuna that, you know what, if you go to the forest, because you're a Kshatriya, because you are into justice, you will find some injustice in the forest. And when you find injustice in the forest, you will want to fight in the forest. You want to sort out that problem because that's who you are. That's your nature. You can't run away from who you are. You can run away from your job, you can run away from your family, you can run away from many external people and situations, but we can't run away from ourselves. We can't run away from ourselves. And once we take on some responsibility, then the dharmic thing, the right thing to do is to take responsibility of what we are responsible for. So if we have a child, naturally we are responsible for the child, and because we're responsible for the child, it's not likely that we're going to say, hey, I know you're one, but you know what, when you're 18, give me a call, maybe we can hang out. The child will say, hey, where were you for 17 years? The 17 years I needed you, where were you? You can't say, oh, I was in Australia on the beach, but I thought of you every day. It's not enough. So what happens is no matter how difficult our life is, the right thing, what we always try to do is the right thing, and the right thing is to somehow or the other fulfill our responsibilities. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to fulfill our responsibilities. And Arjuna was not different. He had a responsibility to uphold dharma, to protect society. And Duryodhan was the person who was trying to destroy society. Duryodhan, Dhritarashtra, they were not going to rule the kingdom in a way that would be beneficial for the citizens. And Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that rather than trying to see this as Pandavas versus Kauravas, try not to see it like that. Try not to see that your dilemma as being something on the material level. Arjuna is thinking, should I be a Kurunandana? Should I be thinking of my family? Or should I think I'm a Kshatriya and I have to fight this war? So his dilemma, what's the right thing to do, is I'm a warrior, but I'm also a member of this family. And both of them were clashing because the warrior had to kill the family. So the clash in the dharmas was very apparent. And Krishna is saying to Arjuna, don't think like this. Think on the platform of the soul. Think that you're beyond, you're a Kurunandana, you're beyond a Kshatriya. Act on the platform of the soul. And acting on the platform of the soul means do what is right in your relationship with the Lord. And when you do something in relationship to the Lord, and Krishna is very clear who that Lord is. The verse we selected for today is 4:11. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham mamavat manuvartante manusya pratasarvashaha. In 4.11, Krishna is saying, as all surrender unto me, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So he's saying to Arjuna, as you surrender unto me, I will reward you accordingly. As you surrender unto me, I will reward you accordingly. This is so powerful. What Krishna is saying is that what you're doing in this world, and when he's speaking to Arjuna, he's speaking to all of us. He's saying that what you are doing in this world is all in relationship to me. We may know it, or we may not know it, but what we are doing is in relation to Krishna. But he's saying, as you surrender, ye tamam prapadyante, when you surrender, I will reward you. Tam stateva bhajamyaham. Sometimes we think, oh, surrender. This is a very strong word for a religion. How can you ask us to surrender? What does it mean to surrender? What Krishna is actually saying is, just surrender this false idea of who we are. And this false idea of who we are is that I'm a person of this world who needs to achieve certain things and please certain people in order to find my happiness. And so often we live our life thinking, if this person acknowledges me, if this person recognizes that I'm a nice person, I'm a good person, I'm a great person, then everything is done. In Gujarati, who's Gujarati here? Most of us. It's London. We call it Vakhan. Vakhan Saimbru, And when we get, we're after this Vakhan, someone said something good, or man, this respect we're after. That if we get this, then I have achieved everything I wanted to achieve. And this is the false idea that we live with. How do we know it's false? Because we've all experienced it. We've all experienced not getting the recognition when we really wanted it, and how it felt awful. How it felt, why did I even bother helping her with her wedding when she didn't even thank me in her speech? Like, God. Why did I even bother turning up to this person's birthday party? I drove 200 miles to get there and they didn't even talk to me. And you're thinking, I'm going 200 miles, I'm going to make them so happy, they're going to think I'm such a wonderful friend. And you get there and they're like, hey, thanks, cool. And you go home. We do so many things to try and just get this recognition and get this praise. And when we don't get it, we are left miserable. Then the other side, what if we get it? What if people recognize our achievements, people recognize we did something nice? The problem is, it's never enough. It's never enough. It's like 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person, 5 person say you're amazing. But because the 6th person who you were just waiting for to just say something, and you kind of even look at them like, hey, and they don't say anything. You drive home and you don't remember the 5 people that said something good, you remember the one person that didn't say something, and what happens? We became a slave to their comment or lack of comment. So this is the false identification that Krishna is saying to Arjuna. Don't live like this. When we are living in a false concept, when we are living with our ahankar, with our false ego, when we are living with our ego in this state of dependence from the world, this dependence that the world is going to recognize me, this dependence that the world is going to give me a great job, the world is going to give me a nice husband for my daughter, a nice job for my son. When we're just expecting all these things to come, and when it doesn't, we feel let down. And then we question ourselves, oh, I'm such a good person. Why is God doing it to me? Then we suddenly, he's the one to blame. He's the one to blame. But what he's saying to us is, why are you so interested in that? Like, what are you going to get out of it? What Krishna really wants us to do is just change our conception. And this is what he's saying to Arjuna. Don't worry about being a Kshatriya. Don't worry about being the Kuru Nandana, member of the Kuru dynasty. Why don't you just think about acting on the platform of the soul? Just think about acting on the platform of the soul. And acting on the platform of the soul means do what Krishna says. Yayatamam prapadyante tamstateva bhajamyaham. As you surrender unto me, I will reward you accordingly. What Krishna is saying is, I want a relationship with you. That's what he's saying to Arjuna. I want a relationship with you. We're in this material world, and when we are single and the best person comes up to us and says, hey, I want a relationship with you, you're like, wow, amazing. They want a relationship with me, like really me. But this is Krishna. He wants a relationship with us individually. He wants a relationship with us. He wants this. And he's saying that as you act in the relationship, I will reward you accordingly. Now, that reward, it's like a special reward. It's so special that he doesn't tell you what it's going to be. He doesn't tell you what it's going to be. Because if he tells you what it's going to be, then you're going to focus on the reward more than you are on the relationship. Right? So if Krishna said to you, look, if you hang out with me, if you chant my name for like 2 weeks, I promise you £2 million. Then what you'll be focusing on is the 2 million. You won't even. So Krishna doesn't tell us the reward because we're in this conditioned state in this material world where we just focus on things, objects, praise, and all these other things. Krishna knows that our relationship with him won't be genuine if he tells you the reward in advance. So he won't come in your dream and say, you chant for 1 week, and I'll get you £1 million, or I'll get you the car, I'll get you the wife. He won't say that. But what he will do is say, Tamstateva bhajam yaham. I will certainly reward you. I will certainly reward you. So then it comes to a question of Shraddha. What does Shraddha mean? Faith. Shraddha means faith. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it's a really amazing book. In the Bhagavad Gita, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada explains what is the definition of faith. And Srila Prabhupada explains that faith is an unflinching trust in something sublime. An unflinching trust in something sublime. So have trust, have unshakable trust in something that you cannot see. Have some trust in the unknown that I am going to give you. an unflinching trust in something sublime. Sublime means beyond the material world. Sublime means beyond our day-to-day. And have this trust in Krishna, that if we develop this relationship with him, he will interact with us accordingly, according to how we surrender unto him. And he does this in many different ways. We will see the different lessons that will come into our life, because we'll see everything in relation to him the more we surrender unto him. And we'll be able to see, wow, Krishna, before, and I can give this as I remember this example that many years ago, I remember before I was even coming to the temple, if someone would say something to me, it would make me mad. It would just make me mad. Like, oh my God, it just make me mad. And then after some time, I was chanting, and after some time, that kind of calmed down. And I never read anywhere that, if you chant, you won't react as badly as you would before. I never read that anywhere because I wasn't reading anything. I just thought I should chant. I thought, I'll go to the temple and I'll start doing something and just come and chant. I never read. I would never stay for class like all of you. Nice. I would never stay for class. I think, they're talking on Bhagavad Gita. How boring. And I'd just come in, Hare Krishna, and bye-bye. But what I did do is I went out to that reception, and they were giving out these chanting beads. So this is in 2001, and they were giving out these chanting beads. So when they were giving out these chanting beads, I thought, hey, you know what? I'd like to do something every day. I'd like to do something every day. Just like something for God. I'm doing so much nonsense every day. And at that time, I was a student doing lots of nonsense. And I thought to myself, okay, if I just do some religious thing every day, then that will counteract all the crazy stuff I do. That was that kind of thing in my head. Don't do this at home. But that's what I thought in my head. But what happened was I was chanting. Maybe for about 2 years, I was coming to the temple. I was chanting. Still hadn't read anything. Still didn't stay for a class. I would just come to the temple, say hi to Krishna. If they were dancing, like they'll have some kirtan after this. I'd do a bit of dancing because I used to like going to nightclubs and dancing. So I thought a bit of dancing and then go home. And that was my spiritual life. But what happened after a couple of years, I realized through this chanting that there is some change happening. I realized that there's some change happening. And when I noticed some change happening, I thought to myself, ooh, this thing I'm doing seems a bit real. It doesn't seem something ritualistic anymore. It doesn't just seem like like what I'm doing is just because someone told me I'll become this, because I wouldn't talk to anyone. If someone tried to talk to me, I'd be like, no, thank you. I've got my own friends. And I'd just quickly, I'd make it very clear, I'm not up for this. I just want to do my own thing here. Come to the temple, not talk, not do anything, just do my own thing and get out quickly before someone tries to try to make me a devotee, because I didn't want to become a devotee, because then I thought, if I become a devotee, I'll have to stop drinking and I have to shave my head. And look what's happened. But what I started to notice is that by chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting this mantra every day, after some time, some effect was happening. Something was happening. And I remember driving, I was studying my accountancy exams, and I remember coming out of the library, sitting in the car, and I used to use the library in Hertfordshire, the Hatfield University. I wasn't at that uni, but I just used to use the library for studying. And this temple's on the way, because I live just like in Northwood, which is kind of like you have to kind of go past Watford to get to Hatfield. So I remember, and so sometimes I'd come to the temple in the morning, then go to the library, or sometimes I'd go to the library and then on the way back I'd pop into the temple just to say hi to the Lord. But I remember one day I got in the car and I started driving and I said, this Krishna, he's doing something. I remember he's doing something. I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew he was doing something. And then I started to read, and then I thought, okay, maybe I should read, maybe I should talk to some devotees, and then when I read somewhere something along the lines of will be less affected by the material energy, and that's when I thought, wow, I'm noticing it, and then I read it. See, if I'd read it first, I would have convinced myself that because I read it, I'm just telling myself it's happening when it's not really happening, but it's happening. And, my mind would have convinced me that my mind is doing it and it's not real. But because the change started to happen before I knew what was meant to happen, I kind of thought, oh, this stuff is real. What is happening is real. It's like when you go on a journey, and let's say you're driving from Watford and you're driving up north. Let's say you're driving to Liverpool. Okay, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I can say Liverpool. Okay, so I'm driving to Liverpool, I'm in the car, and at some point it says on the map you will go past Birmingham. It says in the map, you drive 100 miles, you'll be in Birmingham. You drive another 100 miles, you'll get to your destination. And when you're on the map, when you're driving and you see, oh, Birmingham city centre, take this exit, Birmingham University, take this exit, and you're on your way to Liverpool, but you start to notice that what's on the map is Birmingham, and now I'm seeing Birmingham, I must be in the right direction. I must be going in the right direction if I'm seeing what it says on the map. So similarly, when we read the Bhagavad Gita and we start to notice some internal change that's in line with what it says in the Gita, then we're thinking, oh, I'm on the right track. I'm on this journey and I'm on the right track. It's not overnight, it's a lifetime. So it's not something that we can just achieve in one day. It's something that it's a transformation of the heart that goes on continuously throughout our life. I remember when I was 15, my grandfather passed away. My dad's dad, my dada. When he passed away, I remember thinking to myself, I was 15 years old, and he passed away. And I remember thinking to myself, is that it? I saw his body, and I was just thinking, is that it? Bus. I was spending time with him. I would play with him. He would take me on the bus. He would take me on the train. When he'd go out with his friends, he would take me with him. I was his eldest grandchild, so I was like the one who'd always get to hang out with him. And then one day he's gone. One day he's not here anymore. And I remember thinking, is that it? Is that it? And if we don't go beyond, if we don't look beyond what is in our life, what is life all about? What is the purpose? I remember after he passed away, I remember that for some years, you could use the words off the rails. I think they used that word. So I went off the rails, as it were, like detract from what a good son, a good Indian boy would do, as per se. And I remember at 17, 18, 19, around that age, I remember I kept thinking to myself, what is the purpose of life? Like, what is the point of all of this? I'd look into the sky, and I'd look at all the stars, and I'd think, what's beyond all of this? What's happening up there? And then I'd look around me and I'd think, who made all this? Where did all this come from? Like, sometimes we hear, oh, there was a big bang, and because of this big bang, everything got created. But to me, it just didn't sound like a real explanation. It just didn't sound like an explanation. It just sounded like something, like when you want to tell your child something, so they just be quiet. Does anyone do this with their kids? Yeah, it's like, you just say something so you're busy with something, so you say something to your kid so they stop annoying you and you can carry on doing your work. We sometimes do that. I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, 2 daughters, and they love to talk, and I love talking to them also. But sometimes if I'm doing something, I might just say something so that they just stay quiet. And it felt like, and the worst thing is when I say, yes, you can watch. And that's, they sometimes just go for it with me until I say, yes, you can watch. But when we hear things like the Big Bang, it just felt like something that would just keep people quiet, but it didn't sound like a real explanation. Because if we think about it, every design needs a designer. Everything, all things that are made with some intelligence needs an intelligent person behind it. So nothing that I was hearing from this material world, should I say, it wasn't making sense. But when I was started to experience some of the changes it tells me in the Bhagavad Gita, then we start to think, well, hold on a second, I can experience some of what Krishna is saying. And if I can experience some of what Krishna is saying, maybe I could come to some conclusion that what Krishna is saying is correct. Because you can experience some of it. Right? We can factually experience some of these changes that Krishna speaks about. We'll become more peaceful. My wife might not agree that I've become peaceful yet. But I keep telling her, you didn't know me 20 years ago. You've only known me for 10 years. So there's a change from there to there. We get less affected by the duality. It doesn't mean we're not affected, because it's a lifetime of transformation. But we notice we're less affected. We're less affected. We start to see the changes. So then when Krishna says, Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya, when he says something like, everything rests on me. When Krishna says everything rests on me, we might think, yeah, right. How can it rest on you? You're just playing the flute. You're just having a good time. You're just stealing butter. How can everything rest on you? But if he's saying the other things, it's kind of like, well, hold on. I've got to Birmingham. I reached this place. And because I've got to Birmingham, I know the map must be correct. Because what's meant to happen in this journey, it's starting to happen on this journey. So then I can start trusting the map. And because I can start trusting the map, I follow the map. So similarly, what we do, we understand, yes, I'm doing what Krishna says in the Gita. I'm starting to develop a relationship with him. He is starting to reciprocate with me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to trust him. I'm just going to trust him. And I understand from the Bhagavad Gita that trust, faith, means trust, an unflinching trust in something sublime. It means I may not be able to see it. I may not be able to see that everything rests on Krishna. I may not be able to see it. But because I can see some other things, I'm going to just trust him that everything rests on him. I'm going to trust him when he says that if we manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyajimam numushkuru, when Krishna says, offer respects unto me, always think of me, become my devotee. When Krishna says these things to me, I'm going to do it because Just like I followed Google Maps and it took me to Birmingham and it says, hey, now get off the M1, get onto M6 and carry on your journey. I'm going to think, okay, so far I've been doing a little bit of chanting. I'm listening to the Bhagavad Gita. I'm reading it a little bit. I'm noticing some change. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to get off the M1 and get on the M6 because everything so far has been good with this map. So then I'll do what Krishna says. I'm going to try to always think of him. I'm going to offer my respects to him. I'm going to become his devotee. Because Krishna says that I will protect you from all your fears. Wow. That's amazing, because this material world is full of fear. Aren't we always fearful of something? If you're not, switch on the news for 5 minutes and you'll be fearful of a lot. Because this material world, it's described, Krishna says it. He says to Arjuna, by the way, you know the place you're living in? Dukkhalayam. What does that mean? Full of misery. It's part of the world. He says to Arjuna, by the way, this place you're living in, ashashvatam. That anything happy, anything good going on, ain't not going to last for too long. And we know that. We know that. It doesn't last for too long. He's saying that to Arjuna. So then he's telling you what the world is like. It makes sense because it is what he says. It's like it is what it says on the tin. We see it is what it says in the Bhagavad Gita. It is full of suffering, and the happiness here is flickering. It doesn't last too long. I remember when I passed my ACCA accounting exams, I thought, that's it. Wow, I've all the stresses in my life are now over. There's going to be no more tension, because for 3 years, the only tension I had is just pass these exams. And when you pass these exams, that's it. So I remember 2005, got my exam results. Oh, you're a qualified accountant. No more problems. That's it. It's all done. Great. No more problems. Then you're like kind of happy for a few days and then boom, something else comes along. And you're like, okay, Dukkhalayam, Krishna says it. The world is full of suffering. Why is it full of suffering? Then we might think, hey, Krishna, what are you doing? What? You're God. You're like smiling, enjoying yourself. You got the flute, you're having a good time, and you're making me suffer. No, he's not making us suffer. What happens is he's there in the spiritual world having a good time. And he's saying to us, look, why don't you come to me? When you come to me, you'll be in a place of Vaikunta. Vaikunta means a place without anxiety. Doesn't that sound amazing? A place without anxiety. So if we go to him, we won't have any anxiety. But we can't go to him unless we become like the people who are with him. So it's like tomorrow, today is what day? Sunday. So tomorrow night, Liverpool are playing a football match. Right? Now, I could go to Liverpool and just get on the pitch and just start playing. And they'll be like, hey, what are you doing? You can't play with me. The other players would say this. You can't play with me because you're not like me. And I'll be like, what do you mean? Like, because you can't kick the ball from here to there. And you can't run that fast. And everyone else on this pitch can run this fast. They can kick the ball from here to here. And they can do things with the football. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I better go out then. So similarly, if we want to go to the spiritual world and be with Krishna and be with all of Krishna's associates in the spiritual world, we kind of got to be like them. And if we want to be like them, we got to develop a relationship with the person that everyone else over there has developed a relationship with. And everyone over there wishes well for each other. Everyone over there isn't trying to stamp on each other's heads to get to the top. Everyone over there loves each other. Everyone over there is having a great time without intoxication. So if we want to go to that place, we got to become like the people over there. So Krishna says, hey, what Krishna is saying is, just start this relationship. I will reciprocate. And as I reciprocate, you just go deeper into that relationship. He'll keep reciprocating. We keep going deeper into the relationship. He'll keep reciprocating. And before we know it, we are in a lifetime of joyful transformation. It's a joyful transformation. Krishna says to Arjuna, Susukam kartam avyaham, that this process is very joyful. It may seem like, oh, I'll have to give this up, I'll have to give that up, it'll be miserable. It's not miserable. It's not miserable. If someone said to you, just give up your £100 and I'll give you £1,000, would you do it? Yeah. Why would you do it? Because you get more. So that's what Krishna is saying. That, you know what? You will only give up the 100 when you got the 1,000. So similarly, when He gives us spiritual happiness, we'll give up the things that don't really give us deep contentment. When we're looking for praise from others, that's not deep contentment. It's a few seconds of satisfaction. But when we get recognition from Krishna within the heart, we feel deep contentment. How do we do that? Like we said right at the beginning, that Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, if we are in this place, which is like a battlefield, but turn it into Dharmakshetre, turn it into a place of pilgrimage, by devoting ourselves to what Krishna wants us to do, by devoting ourselves to Krishna's will, which is what Arjuna did. He devoted himself to Krishna's will, and everything became clear. He didn't fight because he's a Kshatriya. He fought because Krishna said this is the right thing to do. So, as we are approaching Janmashtami this week, we can think of how are we going to deepen our commitment to Krishna. That's the best birthday present we can give Him. We can give Him a nice birthday gift by saying, Krishna, every day I will read 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. If we read 2 verses of Bhagavad Gita every day, we'll finish the book by the next Janmashtami. It'll take 1 year, because there's about 700 verses. So we can say to Krishna, I'll read 2 verses of Bhagavad Gita every day, and I'll chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra at least for half an hour. Half an hour. I know it seems like, oh my God, where am I going to find half an hour? Just look at how much TV we watch and just cut it by half an hour. How much internet browsing we do, and we cut it by half an hour. So we're going to finish here because it's time for, I can see that this means we got to finish. Hare Krishna. So we're going to finish. I think we still have beads outside. Please pick up some beads. Chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra half an hour every day. And if we read 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, we'll notice in 1 year how our life, how our heart transforms so much, we want to just continue more and more and more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. There's an announcement before Gaura Arati.
Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Welcome to Bhaktivedanta Manor. And welcome to Gaura Arati. And listening to Prabhu tonight, how can we give that a little bit more? Tonight we come to see Lord Krishna and the deities, but someone else has come to see us. And they're here to hear us dancing and chanting, and that is how we can give that little bit more to Lord Krishna and all the other deities tonight. So open your hearts, dance, sing, and sing to Lord Krishna. Can I ask all the men to come on this side of the room, please, and all the ladies on that side of the room? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
श्री श्री राधा गोकुलानंद की श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की श्री श्री गौर निताय की So we'll sing this song, the Gaura Aarti song, as the aarti is being performed. So the words to the Gaura Aarti song is on the sheet coming from the right hand side on the ceiling. The lead singer will sing one line, and if you can follow the lead singer after he sang the first line, second line like this, and then we'll go on to chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashova Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashova Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kashova Janavi Tatavane Jagamanalo Gadada